Girl was just 6 years old when she vanished many years ago in Edmonton, Alberta, and still does not have a resolution. Tanya Marie Morell was born on June the 20th, 1976, to her parents Vivian and Jack. Vivian worked as a bakery manager while Jack was a carpenter who built new houses for Allright Homes in the west side of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. According to those who knew the family, Vivian and Jack were known for their partying lifestyle, their use of marijuana, their love of rock music, and for riding Harley-Davidson motorcycles. The Morell family resided in a small rented bungalow at 10426 145th Street in Edmonton, an area which is home to numerous registered and convicted molesters and rapists. Tanya is described as being a happy child whom everyone loved. While quiet and content, she was also known for her love of singing and tap dance. While she wasn't playing with her Barbie dolls or in the sandbox of the family's backyard, she could be found in the water as she was a good swimmer. When she grew up, she hoped to become a veterinarian as she loved animals. At 7:30 a.m. on January the 20th, 1983, Tanya's aunt, Verta Sortores, was dropped off at the Morel home by her common-law husband as she would be babysitting the children for the day. To her recollection, Tanya and her 5-year-old brother John were eating breakfast. While Jack left the house for work, Vivian is said to have been talking to her daughter before she left the house at just before 8 a.m. Tanya was 6 years old and was last seen wearing a black Harley-Davidson t-shirt, a blue and white winter coat with a fur rim around the collar, high brown boots, and white bikini panties. According to her fellow classmates, Tanya was last seen leaving her first grade class at Grover Elementary School at approximately 11 a.m. She was meant to meet up with John, and the pair were going to walk home for lunch, where Vera was waiting for them. When John exited the school, he found his sister was not there and assumed she'd gone on without him, so he made the block-and-a-half trek home by himself. John arrived home at 11:20 a.m., and when questioned by his aunt as to where his sister's whereabouts, he explained that other students had told him that Tanya had gone to a friend's house for lunch. However, when Vera went to check, she found her niece wasn't at the house. Concerned, Vera contacted Vivian at work, who automatically knew something was wrong. While she hoped her daughter had simply gone to a friend's house, she couldn't shake the feeling and decided to head home. When she arrived, she learned that Vera had been searching up and down the street for Tanya to no avail. Jack was also contacted and shared the same feeling as his wife, immediately returning home to search for his missing daughter. Hoping to find Tanya in class, Vivian went to the Grosvenor Elementary School but found her daughter's desk empty. At this point, she phoned the Edmonton Police Service, and an officer stopped by the house, where he made note of what Tanya was wearing and began a door-to-door search of the area. Throughout the course of the day and into the night, Vivian and Jack hoped their daughter had simply decided to have an impromptu sleepover with a friend and had forgotten to inform them, but she failed to show up for school the next morning. She has not been seen or heard from since. Initially, those investigating Tanya's disappearance weren't quite sure how to handle it. However, the police did state they believed she left via the elementary school's east doors at approximately 11:10 a.m. and didn't wait for her brother's class to break for lunch. The story made both national and international news, with outlets across Canada and the U.S. reporting on Tanya's disappearance. For weeks, her case was the lead story on the local newscasts. A search was commenced to find the little girl. Hundreds of city blocks were checked for any trace of Tanya. Concerned citizens sourced the entire city looking for her, and helicopter searches also took place. Posters depicting Tanya and her description were put up all over the area and in store windows. A private donation was also garnered $30,000, which was used as a reward for the safe return of Tanya. The biggest search in Edmonton history is that to be of Tanya's. According to reports, over 1,900 square blocks were searched by police and between 300 and 400 volunteers, and these searches even included alleys and ravines in those areas. The door-to-door search for Tanya is said to be one of the most extensive search efforts. And even with the reward, her clothing and school books were never located. Neither were any witnesses. There's been no trace of Tanya or any evidence of what happened to her The only thing found was her Safeway bag, and that was at the school. According to some of the children who attended Grosvenor Elementary School, they had seen a girl being chased by a German Shepherd, but this has not been substantiated, and it is currently unknown if the girl was Tanya. Detectives were flooded with tips about the case, but few turned out to be of any significance. Both of Tanya's parents were ruled out as suspects, as they were both at work at the time of her disappearance. However, due to their drug use and partying lifestyle, investigators were of the belief that someone who acquainted with the family could possibly have been involved. The theory, which was later spurred on by the community rumors. Not long after Tanya vanished, the family dog Harley disappeared. However, foul play was not suspected, and 2 years after her disappearance, Tanya's sister Alicia was born. Her parents both developed worse substance abuse issues, and Jack died in 2005. In the summer of 2008, a basement was excavated about 20 blocks from where the family lived in 1983. This search was the result of a tip that led investigators and the detectives from a woman who had claimed that she had been a playmate of Tanya's and was suspicious about a hole in the basement of her family's home. However, the excavation turned up nothing. Tanya's mother, Vivian, passed away in 2011. Around 30 years after the disappearance of the former school friend of Tanya's came forward and to say that the missing girl had approached her on the day in question to say she was going to the nearby 7-Eleven for lunch as she had some spare change. The convenience store was in the opposite direction of the Morel home. According to the woman, she last saw Tanya walking alone in the southwest direction toward 144th Street, which would be the opposite direction of the Morel home. Tanya's brother John also suffered from substance abuse problems later in life and would die eventually in 2015. The case is considered, as noted, the biggest missing child case in Edmonton's history, and throughout the course of the investigation they have checked with molesters and rapists who were known to live in the area. The case resulted in the creation of the first Alberta chapter of Child Find, and the organization said the case continues to serve as a reminder to parents to ensure their children know what to do if they face danger and how to avoid it. A book titled What Happened to Tanya was released about the case. The organization helped to spread the photographs of missing children by plastering them to the sides of shampoo bottles, milk cartons, and posters, which were spread about the continent. By 1986, about 100 missing children had been located with the help of the organization. It was federally incorporated as a nonprofit organization in October of 1985. Currently, the case is classified as a non-family abduction. Tanya's family does not believe she is deceased. Most of her relatives and family members believe she was taken by someone who couldn't have children of their own. Investigators have also stated that they too have to accept it's possible Tanya is still alive. Vivian believes someone abducted her and may have taken her across the border into the U.S. Vivian said that Tanya's abductor would have had to take her by force because Tanya wouldn't even get into a friend's car without her parents' permission. Investigators said that based off Tanya's size, she could have been taken by anyone, but whether it was someone she knew or a complete stranger remains to be seen. Alicia continues to search for her sister, whom she never got the opportunity to meet. She believes that Tanya is alive and was brainwashed into another family. She has 2 children of her own, whom she has taught about stranger danger, and she works as a nurse, and every year on the anniversary of Tanya's disappearance, she and her children go to Niagara Falls and throw a red rose over the falls. She says she will continue to do this until Tanya returns home. Investigators have stated that the search for Tanya is ongoing and open, and they have stated it will never be closed until she is located. At the time of her disappearance, Tanya was described as a happy, smiling girl who was liked by everyone and took care of her brother. She used to love putting on her mom's high heels and dressing up. She was said to be quiet and content, but was also known to love dancing and singing. She would often be seen playing in the sandbox in the backyard or with her Barbie dolls. She was a good swimmer at the time of her disappearance, and she loved animals. Her abduction remains unsolved. Tanya Marie Morell was a white female born on June the 20th, 1976, and was 3 feet 2 inches tall and weighed approximately 45 pounds when she went missing. She had sandy blonde to light brown hair, and her eyes are said to have been either brown or hazel. Her ears are pierced 1 time each, and she has a birthmark on her right temple, which is about the size of a quarter. Those with information about the case are asked to contact the Edmonton Police Service at 780-421-3382 or the Royal Canadian Mounted Police at 1-877-318-3576. And if you'd like to remain anonymous, please contact your local Crime Stoppers.